Tunisia was one country where the whole world thought Arab Springs have succeeded. Democracy came into being, multiple elections were held, and then a professor turned a candidate took over the presidency, Kais Saied, and now he's ruling by his decree. What happened? He has frozen the parliament and sacked the prime minister. To discuss with us is a person who hails from that area, is direct and is the president of the Center for Study of Islam and Democracy, Dr. Radwan Masmoudi. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Muslim Network TV.
Alaikum salam, Imam Mujahid. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Well, give us Tunisia 101. Not many people know Tunisia, much less its politics.
Well, Tunisia is, of course, a small country of only 11 million people in North Africa. It's situated between Libya and Algeria. It is where the Arab Spring started 11 years ago in December 2010. And then the dictator Ben Ali flew away basically 24 days later on January 14th. And since then, Tunisia has been building a new democracy. And as we all know, building a democracy is not easy and it takes time. But Tunisia was the only country that succeeded in the last 10 years. From the 5 Arab countries that had revolutions in 2011, Tunisia was the only one that succeeded in staying on course and in building slowly the institutions of democracy and the culture of democracy. Until, of course, July 25, when we had a coup by the elected president, President Kais Saied, who decided suddenly to close down the parliament and to suspend the constitution and to rule by decree. And that therefore he considers that his decrees are the law of the land and they are above the constitution and above the other institutions, including the legal institutions in Tunisia. So it has been almost 6 months now since this coup, and the Tunisian society, in large part in the beginning, welcomed the intervention by the president because they were not happy with the government at the time, and they thought the government was not doing a good job of delivering economic prosperity and growth. And as well as, there was a political crisis and a health crisis because of the COVID pandemic as well. So all of these came together and the Tunisian people said, basically, yeah, let's have change. But now, majority of Tunisians are starting to really question whether Kais Saied has a program or has any idea on what to do to achieve economic growth or to achieve political stability. And people are afraid that he is basically destroying the democratic institutions that the Tunisians have built in the last 10 years, if not longer, and that he is reinstating a dictatorship similar or worse than that of Ben Ali prior to the revolution. So there is a lot of resistance now, growing resistance against this coup in Tunisia among many political parties, and there's been a lot of demonstrations, but so far they have been very peaceful, and we thank God for that. There hasn't been any violence in the streets, nobody has been shot, nobody has been killed. So we hope that this will continue and that the coup will end soon, inshallah.
Well, but while there is no violence on the street, we heard that the opposition leaders are being kidnapped and tortured by mysterious elements. So is the state non-violent in its actions?
Well, It has been mostly non-violent and mostly peaceful. There hasn't been, even when there were protests and massive demonstrations up to 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people, there hasn't been any real confrontation with the police. So the protests have been peaceful. However, you are right that last week, the government of President Kais Saied decided to arrest, to kidnap really, because they didn't have an arrest warrant from the judicial system. So basically the Ministry of Interior decided on its own to kidnap one of the leaders of the main political party, which is the Ennahdha party in Tunisia. It is a conservative Islamic democratic party, the main party in Tunisia right now. They kidnapped the vice president of that party, and he was hidden for 5 days. Nobody knew where he was. They took him to an undisclosed location, and he was basically incommunicado for 5 days. Now he's in a hospital because he has started a hunger strike, and he's refusing to take medication. Because he apparently also was mistreated. I think what is happening now is the regime or the government of Kais Saied is trying to use some violence to intimidate the opposition and to scare people, because, as I said, there is growing opposition and people are planning for a massive protest next week on January 14th, which will be the 11th anniversary of the victory of the revolution in Tunisia. So it is possible that there will be growing confrontation and growing violence to remove this coup and to end this coup. But I think everybody is trying to do it through peaceful means, so that the country remains peaceful and without any violence. We don't want basically a repeat of what happened in Cairo in 2013, when people came down in the street and there were massive violence and the army killed almost 4,000 people. That is the reason that we are trying to stay calm and oppose the coup and put an end to the coup, but without resorting to any kind of violence, and while avoiding violent confrontation with the army or with the police.
President Kais Saied was no political entity, just a professor. When he won the presidency, wasn't a clear declaration by the masses that political parties have failed? Could there be some feeling for the stability which the dictatorial regime had earlier, or a model of Egypt?
Well, one of the institutions that we need to build for a successful democracy are political parties. Because we did not have political parties before the revolution. They were just a show. We had few parties, but they were really fake parties and very weak parties. So because we were in a dictatorship for 50 or 60 years, we do not have the tradition or the culture of political parties and strong political parties that have a clear vision, that have clear programs, and that are able to govern and to solve the problems of the people and able to communicate with the people and to lead the country. We don't have such thing in Tunisia, unfortunately. All the political parties are weak, and they don't have a strong structure. Even the law on political party in Tunisia is very constrictive. It constrains the political parties, does not allow them to grow. So I do believe that one of the challenges in Tunisia is how do we build strong political parties that are capable of running the country and of solving the real problems of the people. So yes, the people in Tunisia were fed up with and they felt that the democratic institutions, including political parties, but also the parliament and the government, were not really delivering, were not really working to solve the problem of the people, of the citizens, especially with the COVID. We should remember that the last 2 years, The economy was devastated by the pandemic. 20% reduction in gross domestic product. 1/5 of the gross domestic product has been wiped out in the last 2 years. So a lot of people are suffering, and they feel that this, this democratic institutions are not yet working for their benefit, are not delivering results. But the alternative is not to go back to dictatorship. That is what we are learning right now, and what the Tunisian people are also learning. Yes, we were not happy with the democracy that we had before this coup on July 25, and we need to fix those problems. We need to build stronger government and stronger political parties and stronger political institutions and the constitutional court and so on. But what we don't need is to go back to dictatorship. What we don't need is to let one man decide and rule like a dictator without any constraints, without any control, without any checks and balances on his power, because that will only make it worse. It will not solve the problem of the country. And that is what is becoming evident and more clear every day today.
We're talking with Dr. Radwan Masmoudi. Tell us this, what is the role Egypt is playing? There was a news of visit and help and things like that. And now with kidnapping and possible torture of opposition, is Professor trying to follow a book written by military dictatorship in Egypt?
Yes, it has become, unfortunately, very clear and very evident in the last few months that the Egyptian government, and especially the Egyptian military intelligence, have had a very big and significant role in planning this coup, in advising Kais Saied on what to do before the coup and after the coup, and in helping him to implement this coup against the constitution, against the parliament, and so on. So we know that there are a lot of military intelligence officers, Egyptian military intelligence officers, who have been in Tunis for months and have been involved in implementing this coup. So there is no question now, and there are documents that are starting to be discovered and released to the public and to the media that show the extent of the Egyptian military involvement in planning and carrying out this coup in Tunisia. So there is, unfortunately, also the Emiratis, the UAE has been involved in supporting this coup and planning and carrying out this coup. And it's not a coincidence that in the first week after the coup, the President Kais Saied received 4 foreign ministers. The first one was from Egypt, then from the UAE, then from Saudi Arabia, and the fourth one was from Bahrain. Within 1 week, 4 foreign ministers came running to Tunis after the coup to pledge their support to the coup and to Tunisia under Kais Saied, but they were very happy that the coup happened and that the democracy in Tunisia is in trouble, and they think has ended, because they were afraid of democracy succeeding in Tunisia and then spreading from Tunisia to elsewhere in the Arab world.
Thank you so much, Dr. Radwan Masmoudi of the President of Center for the Study of Islam and Democracy based in Washington, D.C. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Imam Mujahid, and it's a pleasure to talk to you again.